When she doesn't reply, the first thing most men do is make it personal. They assume silence means rejection, loss of attraction, or that they said something wrong. But silence is not a verdict on your value, it's information. It's feedback about her emotional state, her availability, and her priorities in that moment. A man who understands this doesn't panic. He observes, he stays centered, because attraction is not built through pressure or urgency. It's built through emotional stability and confidence. Think about it logically. People get busy, emotions shift, attention moves. A woman might not respond because she's distracted, overwhelmed, testing her own feelings, or simply enjoying the fact that you're not chasing her. When you immediately react with anxiety, double text, or explanations, you turn a neutral situation into a negative one. You go from being calm and attractive to needy and uncertain, and that shift is felt instantly. A confident man understands that attraction grows in the space between interactions. Silence creates tension, curiosity, and anticipation when handled correctly. But when you rush to fill that space, you remove all mystery. You show her that you're waiting, watching, and hoping. That communicates that your emotional state depends on her behavior, and that's not attractive. Emotional independence is attractive. Patience is attractive. Self control is attractive. This is where most men fail. They treat silence as a problem that needs fixing instead of information that needs understanding. They try to talk their way back into attraction when attraction isn't logical, it's emotional, and emotions respond to strength, not explanation. The moment you stop reacting and start responding with calm awareness, you shift the dynamic in your favor. Silence also reveals something important about you. It exposes how comfortable you are with uncertainty. A man who is solid in himself doesn't need constant reassurance. He doesn't need immediate replies to feel confident. He knows who he is, what he brings, and where he's going. That inner certainty comes through even when you say nothing at all. When you don't chase a reply, you allow her to feel your absence. You allow her to wonder. You give her the space to miss you. And if she truly has interest, that space often pulls her back in naturally. If she doesn't, then the silence has done you a favor by revealing the truth early. Either way, you win by staying grounded. So instead of reacting to silence with fear, use it as a mirror. Let it show you where you need to strengthen your emotional discipline. Let it remind you that attraction is not forced, it's allowed. Stay calm, stay patient, and remember this. A man who understands the power of silence never loses his position, he strengthens it. When a man feels ignored, his ego gets involved and his emotions start looking for relief. That's when begging shows up. It might not look like actual pleading, but it comes out as double texting, explaining himself, apologizing for things he didn't do, or asking what went wrong. In that moment, he believes he's trying to fix the situation, but what he's really doing is communicating weakness. Attraction doesn't disappear because of one wrong message, it disappears because of emotional dependency, and begging is the clearest signal of it. The moment you beg, you shift the power dynamic, you place her on a pedestal and lower yourself beneath her. You tell her, without saying it directly, that her attention controls your emotional state. That puts pressure on her, and pressure kills attraction. No woman wants to feel responsible for a man's self worth. She wants to feel drawn, curious, and free, not obligated to reply so you can feel okay. Begging also destroys mystery. Attraction thrives on what isn't fully available. When you over explain, you remove all intrigue, you show every card at once. Instead of giving her something to wonder about, you give her emotional clutter. Long messages filled with justifications, emotions, and questions don't pull her closer. They push her away because they feel heavy and needy. Another mistake men make is thinking honesty means emotional dumping. They believe that if they just express how they feel, she'll understand and respond. But attraction doesn't work that way. Feelings are meant to be revealed gradually, not poured out in moments of insecurity. Emotional control shows maturity and leadership. It signals that you can handle discomfort without collapsing into desperation, but it also puts you in a defensive position. You start trying to prove your value instead of assuming it. But real confidence doesn't argue for attention. It assumes it deserves it. A man who knows his worth doesn't need to convince anyone to see it. He lets his actions, his calm, and his consistency speak for him. What most men don't realize is that begging doesn't increase the chances of a reply, it decreases them. Even if she responds out of politeness or guilt, the attraction is already damaged. She may answer, but she won't feel the same pull. And once attraction drops, it's much harder to rebuild than it is to protect it in the first place. The strongest position you can take is emotional neutrality. You don't punish her with silence, and you don't reward her with desperation. You stay grounded, you give space, you let her come to you at her own pace. That calm strength is rare, and because it's rare, it's attractive. Remember this, the goal is not to get a reply, the goal is to maintain your self respect. When you protect that, attraction has room to exist. Lose it, and no message will save you. When you finally do send a message after silence, what matters most is not the words themselves, but the emotional state behind them. Most men send texts hoping for a response, approval, or reassurance. That energy is felt immediately, even through a screen. The message that actually works comes from a place of calm confidence, not expectation. It doesn't chase, it doesn't accuse, and it doesn't demand. It simply opens the door and lets her choose to walk through it. A calm message assumes positive intent. It doesn't jump to conclusions or create drama. There's no, why didn't you reply, or did I do something wrong? Those questions frame you as uncertain and reactive. Instead, the tone is relaxed, playful, and emotionally detached. Detachment doesn't mean you don't care, it means you're not attached to the outcome. That emotional freedom is what makes the message attractive. Playfulness is powerful because it removes pressure. Pressure makes people pull away, while lightness invites engagement. A short, easygoing message communicates that you're in a good mood, living your life, and not stuck in your head about the silence. It signals emotional maturity and confidence. When she reads it, she doesn't feel interrogated or obligated. She feels safe responding. Length is also important. Long messages feel heavy and loaded with intent. Short messages feel effortless. They suggest that you're not overthinking, not rehearsing, and not waiting. When a man can say more with less, it shows strength. It shows that he trusts himself and the connection enough not to force anything. Another key element is timing. Sending a calm message after giving space shows self control. It tells her you didn't react impulsively, you took time, stayed grounded, and chose to respond instead of react. That alone changes how you're perceived. It shifts you from someone seeking attention to someone offering presence. The purpose of this message is not to restart the conversation at all costs. Its purpose is to reestablish your frame. You're centered, relaxed, and moving forward regardless of the outcome. Ironically, that's exactly what increases the chance of a response. When there's no pressure, people feel free to engage. When there's no neediness, attraction has room to breathe. And here's the most important part: once you send that calm, playful message, you let go. You don't watch your phone. You don't plan follow ups. You don't mentally negotiate outcomes. You return your focus to your life. That's the real power move. Because whether she replies or not, you've already won by staying in control of yourself. Send the message from strength and release the outcome. That's how you stop being ignored without ever chasing. One of the biggest reasons men get ignored is not because they say the wrong thing, but because they don't have enough going on in their lives. When your day revolves around waiting for a reply, every hour of silence feels heavy. That kind of emotional dependence leaks through your words, your timing, and your energy. Women can sense when a man's world is small and when he's making them the center of it, and that instantly lowers attraction. A man whose life is full doesn't need constant communication. He has goals to chase, work to focus on, a body to train, and a social life that keeps him engaged. His phone is not the highlight of his day, it's just a tool. Because of that, he texts without urgency and responds without pressure. That relaxed rhythm feels natural and grounded, and it makes him stand out from the majority of men who are always available and emotionally invested too early. When your life is bigger than a reply, your behavior changes automatically. You don't overthink messages, you don't replay conversations in your head, you don't feel the urge to explain or fix things. You move through your day with purpose, and that purpose creates an attractive presence. Women are drawn to men who are going somewhere, not men who are waiting. Purpose also creates polarity. When you're committed to your mission, whether it's your career, your fitness, your creative work, or personal growth, you lead your life instead of reacting to others. That leadership is felt emotionally. It makes a woman feel like she's choosing to be part of your world, not responsible for giving your life meaning. That distinction is critical in attraction. Another powerful effect of a full life is emotional abundance. When you have options, opportunities, and fulfillment outside of one person, you don't cling, you don't fear loss the same way. That emotional security allows you to show up calm, confident, and playful. Ironically, the less you need a specific response, the more likely you are to get it. This doesn't mean becoming cold or unavailable on purpose. It means becoming genuinely engaged in your own life. There's a big difference between pretending to be busy and actually being busy with things that matter. Authentic fulfillment creates confidence that can't be faked. When she senses that you're not waiting, not chasing, and not dependent, she feels free to respond instead of pressured to. And freedom is attractive. It allows curiosity to grow. It allows her to lean in at her own pace. That's how consistent communication is created naturally without forcing it. Build a life that excites you first. When you do, replies become a bonus, not a necessity, and that's when they start coming more easily. Most men believe the power is in knowing what to say, but real power is in knowing how to manage your emotions when things don't go your way. Anyone can send a clever message when everything feels good. Very few men can stay calm, grounded, and centered when they feel ignored. That moment is the real test, and how you handle it defines your position in the dynamic. When you lose emotional control, your behavior changes, your tone becomes urgent, your words carry tension. You start trying to fix feelings instead of allowing them to pass. Even if you think you're hiding it, emotional instability always leaks through. It shows up in timing, in message length, and in the energy behind your words. Emotional self control, on the other hand, communicates strength without saying a single thing. A man with self control doesn't react immediately to discomfort. He pauses, he breathes, he lets the emotion settle before he decides what to do next. That pause is powerful because it puts you back in the driver's seat. You're no longer being led by fear of losing her or by the need for reassurance. You're leading yourself. Self control also shows confidence and abundance. When you're not afraid of one outcome, you don't cling to it. You understand that attraction can't be forced and attention can't be demanded. That understanding creates patience, and patience creates presence. A man who is present in himself doesn't rush, doesn't beg, and doesn't chase emotional validation. Another overlooked aspect of self control is dignity. When you maintain your composure, even when ignored, you protect your self respect. You don't send messages you'll regret later. You don't lower your standards just to feel chosen. That quiet dignity is deeply attractive because it signals maturity and leadership. Emotional self control also shifts how a woman experiences you. Instead of feeling like she's being pulled or chased, she feels like she's choosing. Choice creates attraction, pressure destroys it. The more controlled you are, the more room she has to feel curiosity, comfort, and desire. And here's the truth most men miss: emotional self control isn't about her at all, it's about you. It's about mastering your reactions so no one else controls your state of mind. When you reach that level, you stop needing text to feel confident. You stop interpreting silence as a threat. You become steady, and steadiness is rare. That steadiness is the real power move. When you control yourself, you control the situation without forcing anything. There comes a point where silence is no longer a pause, it's an answer. And a man who respects himself knows how to recognize that moment without becoming bitter or emotional. Walking away is not a tactic, and it's not punishment. It's a decision rooted in self worth. When you've stayed calm, avoided begging, sent a relaxed message, and continued living your life, there's nothing left to prove. At that point, your silence becomes clarity. Most men fear walking away because they see it as losing. In reality, staying where you're not valued is the real loss. Chasing attention that isn't freely given drains your confidence and erodes your dignity. I'm a man who understands his value, doesn't argue with indifference. He doesn't try to convince someone to care. He simply removes himself and redirects his energy toward people and situations that reciprocate. Walking away peacefully sends the strongest possible signal, even if it's never spoken. It communicates that you have standards, boundaries, and options. It shows that you're not controlled by fear of being alone. That quiet strength is often what triggers respect and sometimes even renewed interest. But that outcome is not the goal. The goal is alignment, not persuasion. There's also freedom in letting go. When you stop waiting for a response, your mind clears, you regain focus, you return to your purpose, your growth, and your momentum. That emotional release restores your natural confidence, and confidence is magnetic. Whether she comes back or not becomes irrelevant because you're no longer stuck in uncertainty. Some women only recognize value when it's no longer available. When the chasing stops and the noise disappears, space is created for reflection. That's often when messages come in unexpectedly. But again, that's not something you plan for or depend on. If she reaches out, you respond from strength, not resentment. If she doesn't, you move forward without regret. Walking away also teaches you discipline. It reinforces the idea that your time and attention are valuable. You don't give them endlessly to someone who isn't meeting you halfway. That mindset changes how you show up in every future interaction. You become selective instead of reactive, confident instead of hopeful. In the end, the man who can walk away without anger has already won. He didn't lose her, he chose himself.